Hi, it's the Magic Apothecary. Here we are, live event today. It is a Friday, the 26th of January, 2018. And this event was set up to go at 4, but a couple of people contacted me and said, could it be 5? So I moved it to 5. So here we are at 5 p.m. ready to go. So I am the Magic Apothecary, and I have a group here on Facebook. Hopefully you found that link through where I've shared this video, or if you're on that group right now. Also, this is part of a SPELLCRAFT class that's been going on pretty much all through live events. And all live events all through the year, once a month. I'll be talking about different things, different kinds of spells, different kinds of ideas. And this would be, hi Tammy, good to see you. Thanks for coming by again. See, Tammy's here. That's good. That's good. So we're talking about spells and how we get things we want through using them and what they are. If you're curious, you can join the SPELLCRAFT group and look back at the other videos. They're also on my YouTube channel. And there's a few. We had done Money and Love, and we did a basic first SPELLCRAFT class that took us through the supplies you might need if you're going to be making these things on your own. Now let me be specific. I've been pagan, Wiccan, witch for over 20 years now, New York City based, although I have traveled to Salem, but mostly New York City based. And I have learned firsthand from some of the most amazing people in the witchcraft community, one of them being Lady Rhea, who does the enchanted candle work up in, I think she's in City Island now, but you can order from her website, plus other places as well. So I have been around quite a bit, and studied a lot and have a lot of information. I also run my own business called the Magic Apothecary, and you can go find that at it's actually the-magic-apothecary.com, and on that site you can take a look and see there's all these products that I also create. I create things for people, and I can mail them to you, and you can be taught how to use them. All the things we talk about here I make, and can show you how to use them. So we're doing SPELLCRAFT today for, I have to read it though, for fame and fortune. So what is that? I mean, what is fame? Yeah, it's a musical, it's a movie, it's a great song. But also, what is it? It's being known, being well known. And it could be meaning being a celebrity. Of course, you know, you look at these people on the red carpet, those are celebrities, but also you could be famous in your own place of work. So say you're, the pentagram's backwards. Say you're a doctor, a lawyer, a nurse, veterinarian, I don't know, anything, and you want to be famous. Well, you can be famous in your own place of employ. In a small place, you can be the CEO, you can be very popular, you can be the one everybody goes to. Fame has a lot of different meanings, but I think a lot of people think about right away, you know, celebrities and the people like the Kardashians and you know, that, but it's more than that. It's a little bit more than that. So you have to think about, if you're doing spells for yourself for fame and for attention and for fortune, what exactly are you looking to do? So that would be the first thing out the box that you should do. Say, why am I doing this spell? What do I want? So I myself am a singer, and I produce these things, and I do have a business. So if I was going to choose to do fame stuff, well, it certainly would be to further my career. So there's my answer, you know, to get more people at my shows, which are really good, by the way, and to get more people to come see my work and to experience what I do in the world. That's what I would ask for. What would you ask for? What exactly do you need? So that's the first thing out of the box. What do I need? So I would say, if you're thinking about making spells for fame, this is actually a very good time to do it. We're talking about the moon getting thicker now, bigger now. It was just a new moon last week, and now we're getting back to the full moon, which is next week, and the full moon in Leo next week. And this is the second full moon of the year, of the month of January. So people call it a blue moon, but it's not blue, just they call it that. It has nothing to do with anything except that there's 2 moons in a month. But hey, blue moons are fun to say. So, fortune. So if we say fame and fortune, what are we saying? Do we want riches galore? Sure. Do we want to be famous and fortunate? Sure. You want to be like, you know, Jerry Seinfeld? I've been watching one of his shows, comedians in cars getting coffee. He's rich and famous, and he's happy because of that most of the time. So He's gotten a lot of money for his work. Other people too, you can just off the top of your head think of many people who with fame comes fortune. Well, what does that mean? It means that you get hired to do things, that you get a good salary, that once you get well known and popular, then people want to be around you. There's a song in the musical Wicked called Popular, and one of the lines says, were these people, I'm paraphrasing, were these people smart or talented? No, they were just popular, please. And that includes the president. People get elected because they're popular, right? Even though we don't always look at the popular vote. Anyway, so fortune, same thing, same question. Okay, so you've come to this webinar and you want to get fame and you want some fortune, or you know somebody who does. So those are the first things to ask yourself. And every time you do a spell, I have brought this up before, you should think about having a book of shadows. Either that's online. We used to say you had to use a pen and paper or a pencil and paper because you would be imbuing the paper with your power. No, I don't agree with that. Computer's perfect. I would put it on the cloud though, because you never know what's going to happen to your computer, as we all know. Let's put a copy of it on the cloud and keep a copy in your hard drive, and then you can also, if you're on the cloud, you can always access it on your phone or come on another computer or tablet or whatever. So yes, a book of shadows can be on the internet. It also can be handwritten. So every time you do a spell, you want to start writing out, what are you doing? Where are you doing it? Why are you doing it? All of this information. And you're going to write down everything you use to make the spell happen. So I would suggest as you're going along to try to do that, to try to remember. And when you do things like we're talking about next, coming up, blending oils, you want to write down your formulas, and your formulas for whatever you create, because they're always going to be a little different based on need. Okay, so I want to talk really quickly, and then I'll go into oil, about something called a glamoury. Glamoury, yes, or a glamour. This is an Irish thought, an Irish magical thought called the glamoury. And what this was being able to, you see it in The Craft, in the movie The Craft, although what happened in The Craft never happens in reality, or any of those witchcraft movies, by the way. They're always just great fun, and none of it is real. We just like to think it is, just like every other movie. But there's one girl that has, in The Craft, sores all over her, and she's able to convince other people that she's beautiful by using a glamoury, and eventually it heals, and she does heal, but she uses a glamoury. It's a matter of convincing people that they see what they want to see, or they see what you want them to see. So that's what a glamoury is. And I can talk more about that another time, but if you want to look that up, you can. And it's great because our word glamour comes from that, and glamour has a lot to do with fame and fortune and celebrity and all that. So you want to maybe try a glamoury. Oils. The reason I always bring up oils first when we talk about spells is because you can use oils, and you will use oils most of the time in everything you do. So you want to create an oil, and you want to also pull together the herbs that you're going to use to create that oil, and that could be in the form of essential oils, or you can make your own herbal oils if you're careful about how you do that and don't let the oils become poisonous by sitting too long. There's ways to make herbal oil almost the same way you'd find people using infused olive oil in their salads or cooking with, say, you see rosemary sometimes or things in an olive oil. It's the same idea. You would put an herb into oil and then you'd use it that way. It will not smell the same way as an essential oil. Essential oil is distilled plant material. Distilled just like you distill bourbon. So it's distilled. Okay, so that's a different situation, and it's a much more potent form. Some of the herbs I'm going to mention are poisonous, and you should use them with great caution. You should never, ever, ever use them around animals, and you should never, ever, ever touch them with your bare hands, ingest them in any way. I've warned you, do not. They are poison, super poison. But they're powerful things that people have used for centuries for this particular working, so I'll mention them. So for creating an oil, So you say you have a base of something. An interesting thing that I found in my list here was that almonds and almond oil is something that's a very powerful base for money. So that's a common thing to find. You can also use olives. Olive oil is another one that you can use as a base for your own magical oil that you're going to make here. Beware that when you're using olive oil, sometimes that goes rancid, and also it will solidify in cold weather, in any kind of cold, or in the refrigerator. You can also use coconut oil if you want to make sure it's melted down but cool, and use that as a solid oil base. So that's a kind of a cool way to, you can put that in the fridge after you use it or in cold space, and it becomes a solid way to use your oils, which is kind of nice. And coconuts, again, something that brings riches. Most of the nuts that we eat or have in our regular diets here in America and pretty much throughout the world, all nuts bring money. Why is that? Well, nuts were very expensive to move around, and nuts are still very expensive if you do eat them. So, and also they are rich in oil and very powerful, packed with protein. So people use them for centuries. The next thing that's a common thing that people use for money is salt. And that's another one I'm sure you have somewhere in your house, or you can find very easily. So salt. But here's a list of different herbs. What I'll do, I think I can do that. Yeah. I can cut and paste this so that it's on here. This is just a small list. There's many, many more. So I'll just put it here. There you go. All right. So I'll say them and you can read them as I go along, and whoever else is looking at this up, obviously in the future, can also find this on this place. So, let me just say this here as a statement, whoever's watching. I'm not a glamoury kind of witch. Well, I do glamouries, but I'm not the kind of witch that is full of black hooded makeup and wears low-cut things and flies around in purple. It's just not me. Much more of an intellectual student of this work, and I do use it, and I do believe that the more you know, the more powerful you are. So I don't think wearing purple eyeshadow and walking around with pointy nails or a pointed hat makes you a witch. I think witches most of the time who are really real are really quiet, because you don't want people to know what you're up to half the time, or some of the time. We don't do anything to harm people. And I will talk about that in a few. We're going to talk about banishing, and we're going to talk about binding. Those are going to be the next things we come up with. So here's the list. Aconite. If you look that up, it's also called monk's hood. And that is a very, 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 very poisonous plant. So it's one of the first ones that we were talking about with poison. Be very, very careful. All right, so alfalfa. Alfalfa is a really famous money plant and said to bring money, and you can buy alfalfa powder, and it's kind of a healthy way or safe way to color anything you do. Allspice, almonds, as I said before. Mandrake. Mandrake is also poisonous. So poison, 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 poison. Okay, so if you're interested in working with poisonous herbs, research them first, understand what they are. Again, do not ingest them, do not touch them, do not give them to anyone else, keep them away from animals, keep them away from children, and never ever touch them if you're if you're breastfeeding or are pregnant. Benzoin. Benzoin is a resin that adds power to your spells, all spells actually, but it's very good for attracting attention and money. Comfrey, which I had written a whole thing about comfrey on Facebook not too many days ago, and so that's up there, and you can read about the magical properties of comfrey. Ginger, also a nice spicy, powerful punch. Goldenrod Goldenseal, again, because they're golden. They have different attributes, but for our sakes here, that's what they're for. High and Low John the Conqueror root. I spelled that wrong, so whatever. High and Low John, John, the Conqueror root. Oats themselves. Patchouli, which we kind of know. A lot of people know patchouli brings money. Again, pecans, walnuts, pikaki. I don't know this herb, but I know that it's supposed to be one of the most powerful money drawing herbs on the planet. So I'm going to look into that. I didn't have a chance today to really research it before I got here. But let's do it now. P-K-A-K-I. Pikaki. Maybe I don't know it because it was spelled, it's not, I spelled it wrong. P-A-K-A, Paki. It's a type of a mallow. And it's from Hawaii. So that's why I don't know about it. I don't know much about Hawaiian or that kind of work, but I'm sure there's people out there who do, and they can tell me more about it. So it's P-A-K-I, Paki. Red clover, which grows in abundance all over the world. Sassafras, which we know is sort of like, tastes like root beer, grows in the South, grows everywhere actually. Cinnamon, or plain old cinnamon. Tea tree, frankincense, and myrrh, of course. So those are just some. There's more, but these are ideas. Now, aside from the poisons, which you shouldn't be blending into any oils unless you're really, really, really advanced in this kind of work. The other ones, one of my cats is wanting something. One of the things you can do is blend any of these essential oils into some oil. So you can take a look at these and see which one calls to you the most. I think if I was going to go, I'd go with the golden ones because they have that color. And of course, I know that High John the Conqueror I prefer. And I would use patchouli. I would use cinnamon, frankincense, and myrrh, and probably clovers. So that's me, and I would put it in almond oil. But that's my decisions based on what I know. I might add some alfalfa, but it might look funky with the yellow. So just for smell, allspice. So that's a nice, simple, non-toxic blend I would probably come up with. I would use it based on, in different portions based on what I want to do with them. Now, yeah, how do you know that? Well, it's sort of like cooking. Witchcraft is very much like cooking. You start with one ingredient. That's what I would suggest. Say, okay, I want to make a fame oil and I'm going to use High John the Conqueror root. That's good. Start with one thing. Write down what happens and go from there. Same way you learn how to cook, the same way you learn how to do anything. One thing at a time. I cannot sit here and tell you each one of these things and what they might do because it would take like weeks and weeks and it would be more boring than anything we've ever done. So there's that. So let's talk about the astrology of magic for fame and fortune. When would that be? Well, first of all, you want to be doing that when the moon is getting full, from waning to full. So from when it starts from new moon until full moon, that's when you want to be working on that. That's exactly when. So right now we're in the waning, waxing, filling, growing moon, and you look for when the moon is full. So let me look that up exactly. Full moon, I think it's on the 31st. And any good witch has some place that she knows she can, or he knows that they can just check real quick. And now it's really simple. It's all over the internet constantly, easy to find. Yeah, it's called the snow moon, and it's on January 31st. So that's the next full moon. And that full moon is in Leo. Leo is a really good sign to work with for fame and fortune. So that is something you really want to work on and with. Right now, the moon is in, I think, Capricorn. No. It's in Aquarius. So it's probably in Pisces. So at this moment or soon, it just happened or is happening soon. So that's a water sign, and Pisces has to do with a lot of mystical work. This might be a good time to start a spell. Yes, it might be a good time to start a spell. It's up to you. Again, you have to look at the signs and see where you want to start them. But you can start a spell any day and at any time, no matter where the moon is. One of my teachers, Joe, used to say, the moon is full someplace. And that's true. And the moon is in another sign someplace. That is also true. Okay, so waxing moon. Then you want to say, again, what sign? What astrological sign would I like my moon to be in when I do my spell? A. B. Well, where's that full moon going to be when I come to get the spell together? You can actually do this spell and finish it if you want to on the night of the full moon, but it has to be done on the night of the full moon and finished. Because for me, I don't know, I think about fame and fortune. I want that to build up. I don't want it to disappear because I'd have to wait another 2 or 3 weeks before the moon became new again and I could start my work. So new to full moon work, excellent time. Full to new, this is when you're taking things away because the moon itself is shrinking down, or it looks like it is anyway. There's less and less light on the moon. So there's that. Also, you want to think about the Astrological Hour. There are all kinds of places all over the internet, and actually apps for phones, as there are moon apps for phones, where you can find out what hour it is, and each planet rules an hour in a day, so, or more than one. So you want to make sure that when you're going to light your spell or work on your spell, if you want extra potency and help from the ethers, you can look up what sign that hour is in. Okay, so for example, we might be in Mercury hour right now. I hope we are, because then people will watch this. Or we might be in Leo hour, or we might be in Capricorn hour. Whatever it is a different hour. It's a different name per hour. Okay, so that's that stuff. That's something I can get into, and we'll get into another time, but not today. All right, so if you wanted to start the spell, say, in the waning moon, it's not a terrible thing to do. You can start it when the moon is getting, again, small, and that's fine. And you can, but I would start the spell this way. I would say, I would like to have fame and fortune, and I want it for this reason. But what I'm going to do first is remove the blockages to me getting fame and fortune. Whatever that might be in your life will start to fade away during that time. So you can look at how to do again, we'll do this. I think next month I'll do banishing. I'll do banishing spells. Banishing and binding, those are fun. Those are some of my favorite spells. So yes, why not? Why not banish the ill luck or the people who are blocking you, or the things that are stopping your potential? And then when you start on the new moon to bring in your fame and fortune, you'll have a clean slate. So also spells, excuse me, don't always happen right away. We know this. I've said this before again and again. They happen sometimes over many months, and the minimum I would say to run a spell is 3 months. So don't expect immediate changes. You're going to have changes actually you have changes the moment you start thinking about a spell. That's as soon as you start putting the ingredients together, you'll start to seriously have changes. However, you will cut to a place, from my experience, where you get things rolling along and things are starting to grow or change, and then they stop. Sometimes they go down and you have to reacclimate. It's like, oh, I've gotten this thing here. Shoot, I wasn't ready. I'm sort of ready. Oh, let me get ready. And once you start saying that, it sort of goes, okay, hold on, I'll wait for you. And then when you're ready again, it goes back. That's my experience. I'm sure other people have had other experiences. I don't like huge change in my life to happen too quick. I like to be prepared for it and know it's happening so that I can acclimate, because once you change something in your life, everything is going to change. So better off being ready. That's how I feel. But if you want instantaneous magic, like say I'm going on the stage, in that case, I wouldn't care where the moon is. I don't care what sign it's in. I would be lighting myself a gold candle and saying success tonight, and let's go, and use some powerful fame oil on that and just burn it, and then be ready to go perform and use that same fame oil alongside my love oil and my money oil on my body. When I get on the stage, I never go without my things. So, and I think they do help. If I do forget them, I have a different kind of show. So there's that. All right, so I did mention color, but I'll get more into the color of things. Yeah, coming into that when I get into the candle spells, which here I am in a moment. When you write out your spells, you want to write them out you could write them out on a piece of paper. Now, there are different ways that people do this. I just tried this new thing that I learned from Hoodoo. And by the way, I'm always learning on YouTube from other people as well, always. You can never learn enough. So what they do, and I've just tried this, I used to just write it out, fold it, and put it underneath my spell under a plate so I wouldn't get wax on it or burn it. So if it's a candle spell, what they say to do is to take a piece of paper, but don't cut it. So make a circle based on, just ripping it out. It's going to be a weird shaped circle because you're just ripping. And you don't cut it. You don't use scissors because you don't want to break your spell. That's why. And then you write in the center, you write, I want to be famous. Say, okay, you write that, whatever it is. I want blankety blank, blank, blank. Then you turn it clockwise, and then you write again, I want blankety blank, blank, and then you turn it again over. So you're writing over the words again and again. And then you take it and you write outside without breaking the circle, without lifting your pen. I want to have this thing because blank, 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 blank. You can use ink, that matches your desire. So in this case, it might be gold or green or purple for fame and fortune. You put it underneath your spell, and that's that. So that's a way to do that. You can also wear that in your clothing. People do that. They'll write that out and put it in a mojo bag and wear that in their clothing. So we'll talk about that too in a minute. So we talked about which signs. I didn't mention this. We'll go back for a very small moment to the moon. You want maybe the moon to be in Capricorn, Leo, Sagittarius. Capricorn is about riches and fame and fortune. Capricorns slowly but steadily rise to the top of everything they take on because they like their sign, the goat. They're always climbing and they always get to the top, always. Leo is the sign of fame, fortune, power, you know, the actor, the performer, the king. And Sagittarius is world fame through education sometimes, through religion sometimes. But every sign has its attributes towards fame. Like Taurus, it would be maybe if you were a singer and you would use that for your singing because it rules the throat. Or Gemini, if you were a person in IT or communications. So based on your spell, and I've said this before and before, people come back and forth in and out of this a lot. And they stay and they look and they run away because a lot of people, A1, are afraid. Oh my God, she's a witch. Let me go be scared because she's a scary witch. And then they see me and I'm like this middle-aged woman who's just telling them stuff. So they run away. 2, they think I'm over here boiling up, you know, frogs or something like that, which no, my cats are quite boring and I'm just talking. So there's that. And people also, 3, think I'm going to give them some secret to the universe. I'm not. Either you do your work or you're not a witch. That's my opinion. Either you learn how to deal with astrology, numerology, tarot, color coordination with spells, plant coordination, the meanings behind things, the meaning, how to use energy, meditation, or you're not a witch. You're just a person who's dabbling. But dabbling is okay. Hobbies are nice. But what I do say very vehemently about magic, don't dabble with magic. Magic is extremely, extremely dangerous and can be in the wrong hands. Learn your stuff, hunker down, get to know what the heck you're doing, and don't fuck around, because if you fuck around, you may get it right back in your face. I've said this over and over, but that's that. And I know a lot of people like think this is, oh, it's so boring, you're lecturing. Duh, it's a skill. If you wanted to cook, I'd have to tell you how. And this is like cooking, only like to the 10th degree. This is like, you know, becoming a gourmet. This is like becoming a specialist, an expert. So don't undertake this lightly. And if nobody comes and listens to me, that's fine too. I don't really give a shit. And there's my bicentennial minute, my soapbox. I really get upset when people don't take it seriously. I take it very, very seriously. Very, very seriously. And I am quite an expert, and yet I know nothing at all. So anyway, having witchcraft is not understanding it. It's sort of like having like a gun and just shooting, or a car that you don't know how to drive. So that's what I think. So anyway, so we talked about writing out the spell. We're talking about candle spells next. Candle spells. Candle spells are one of the most popular spells that people use. You can get, as we've discussed before in my other lectures, a pull-out candle. Look up the thing, what it is, and you can see, or you can see from the previous work if you've looked at it. You pull it out and you can carve that candle. In this case, Lady Rhea's book, The Enchanted Candle, great place to start. I'm always selling her book on here. I hope she knows that, appreciates that. But I use it, and she has wonderful, wonderful examples of all kinds of different spells. And of course, there are more than she's even put in this published in the book. And you can make up your own. But she's used, and I've used, and people do use sort of very serious symbols that everybody kind of knows, you know, through, like, for example, I know that she has like a money pyramid spell where you draw a pyramid on your candle, and then you rub the oil all over this candle, and then you glitter it up. You use glitter. Okay, now there's biodegradable glitter. I've heard all about this from several people because I love glitter, and that's great. So we can use that. People use sometimes magical powders in candles. You can purchase those. And by the way, all of this stuff can be purchased in a witchcraft store. There's one in Manhattan called Enchantments, which is pretty famous, and there's lots and lots of them everywhere. In every city, you can find some kind of a witchcraft store somewhere near you. So if you're not the person that wants to go ahead and make all this stuff, you don't have to. You can go buy it. Secondary, you can go into any place that sells, like a botanica, that sells Santeria stuff, and they will have different kinds of powders and oils and things already prepared. They will not be, most of them, some may be, but most of them will not be essential oil based. They will be perfume oil based. But it's up to you and what you, A1, can afford, and B, time-wise can afford, and C, really want to do. Because if you don't want to do this, it won't work. Okay, so, all right, moving on. And we're half an hour in. So, the candle spells. So you're going to find a candle in the right color. So the first thing you'd say is, I want to use one that's going to go for a month, or do I want to use one that's going to go for a day? There are different sized candles you can find in magical stores or online and places like Azure Green, A-Z-U-R-E, Green, or on Etsy. There's tons and tons, or even eBay. If you want to put in magic candle lots or colored candle lots, you'll get tons of candles. So you can get a candle of any color that really appeals to you in this case, but I would stick with one white, because white goes for all things. If you're removing anything, you'll want to use black. If you want to add, you want to use gold or purple for royalty and or gold itself, and you want to use green for money. So there's that. So those are the color candles that you're going to need to purchase in order to get this candle spell going. So again, with incense is something that you want to add to your rituals. You can make your own incense. We've talked about how to do that a few times. And you could add some of these herbs into your incense. You can add anything that's not poisonous that I mentioned, or anything else you find that you'd want to use. You can also make incense sticks, make incense cones. We've talked about those, or you can purchase those online. You can also purchase those again in witchcraft stores. So the bath, you can make a bath again out of, you can use a dryer bath, or you make it out of something, Epsom salts, baking soda, and salt mixed together in equal parts, and add your oil into that and some herbs. Or you can use a wet bath, and you can use a water base and or a soap base and add in your herbs, oils, and you can use that either way. So you can sit in that, soak in that, and you can use a bath to prep yourself for working, or you can use that as the working. I took a shortcut with that. And the first place I started making things was with soap. So you can make yourself soap, and you can use that in the bath, or you can use that in the shower. It's a really fast way. And it's all good because it's all, if you use a soap base that's oil, excuse me, like almond oil, you'll be in the right space. You'll be making a spell that's really kind of appropriate and kind of powerful. A lotion. You can use a lotion. You can use a lotion base, and you don't have to make lotion. Some people do. You don't have to. Any non-scented lotion base, and there's tons of them. Even in any kind of a drugstore or a beauty supply store. And you can just add your oil and herbs to that, and you can use that. Perfumes is another way to go. People make perfume with their essential oil blends and perfumer's oil or vodka. If you use perfumer's oil or vodka, then you're going to want to add a little couple drops of vegetable glycerin. And before you use the perfume, every time you want to shake it. If you want to make a hydrosol, you just use your essential oils in water. Or you can use it in witch hazel, or you can use it in just rubbing alcohol if that's what you want. But remember, that's not going to last. None of it will last unless you use the glycerin. So there's that. Perfumes. And also you can make, we've talked over and over again how to make a solid perfume. Pretty easy. You can use your oil, and you add into your oil, your perfumed oil, on a double boiler or in a microwave in a Pyrex or safe dish. It's not gonna break because the oil will become extremely hot in the microwave. To about 30 seconds at a time, you throw in a little of beeswax, like a little, couple of bits, and a little or soy wax, which melts much faster. And you let it cool, and you check the consistency. If you need to go back in and make it thicker, you do or not. That's a solid perfume. One of the simplest things ever. You can make solid perfume out of coconut oil, but it's going to smell like coconut. So know that. You can melt a little coconut oil in a double boiler or microwave, and then add your oil. And then you can put that in the fridge or in a cold space and carry it with you. And that's a great way if you're going to use coconut oil and don't mind the smell, because we said also coconuts do bring riches. You can use that on your hands and your hair and your body, whatever. Please do never use any of these mixtures in your mouth, eyes, or in your mucous membranes. Don't do it. All right, so lotion, we talked about, is the same idea as the perfume, right? So we went to those. These are things you can make on your own. Here's another way to go. You can make a honey jar, and that's very simple. You get a jar, you put in honey, and you put in the herbs you want to put in for your working. You put in a piece of paper that has your name and or picture if you're the one that wants to be famous and rich, and you put that inside the jar and you shut it and seal it, and then you can burn a candle, like a smaller candle or even a tea light on top of that jar, and you can keep that going forever and ever and ever. So that's just there. You've just put yourself in honey, meaning honey is the riches. You can put pictures of money in there. You can put glitter or glamour bits, whatever you want to put into that honey jar. And you can just keep lighting candles on top of that until forever. So that's one of the simplest ways to go. Then there's something called a spirit bottle, which is a similar thing. You're just going to use a container, a bottle spell it's called, and you put in yourself inside of herbs, a picture of yourself or your desires or your spell written out inside of a jar, and that can be put in with flowers and herbs and the oil and sort of like a potpourri pretty jar that you shake whenever you want. And you can also, again, light candles on top of that. Some people put those under their bed. That's up to you. Some people put them on, not with fire, ever in the bed, but some people put them on their altar and burn them there or leave them there or just use them as a decoration. So spirit bottles, you can also just keep one on your desk, or you might want to start one up and say, okay, this is going to become my desire bottle for this working I'm doing, for this work I'm working on. And every time I think of something, I'm going to put it in this jar. And in the jar, I have herbs and crystals. By the way, crystals are another thing you want to consider using. Quartz crystals bring lots and lots of power to anything. So that's one of the easiest things. And we can get into crystals another time because every crystal has different meanings. So we'll look those up and we'll talk about those in great detail towards the end of the year. But that because they're an addition, they're a spice. But if you have quartz, or they sell now by the pound quartz bits that you can just add to a jar, or any kind of crystal bits. You want to look for green or golden type crystals for this working, or purple, so like this. Or you want to also, in this case, probably if you're not using fire, you want to put in some magnets or lodestones. They are also magnetic stones called LODEs, lodestones, and they can go in here. I just saw something, and I haven't tried it yet, but I think I'm going to do it. I think I'm going to do this spell with you guys this month, and I'm going to do it with a floating wick. And what this is you take something solid in the bottom. I'm going to use some drawing crystals and heavy-duty kind of fire proofing on the bottom. So I'm going to put crystals or rocks, and I have multiple millions of rocks and bits of things, including, I don't know, maybe I'll do like fool's gold, or I'll use different kinds of stones that mean stuff to me. And then I'm going to put in olive oil. No, maybe I'll use almond. No, I'll use olive oil. I'm going to put in olive oil, and into the olive oil I'm going to add the herbs I mentioned before. Maybe I'll use goldenrod and goldenseal, basil, some cinnamon, frankincense, and myrrh. I have lots of essential oils like that, and I will mix that. And on top of that, I will fill up my jar. It has to be a fireproof jar, by the way, so a mason jar is pretty good for that, or some kind of heavy lead crystal. And then you're going to have these things called floating wicks, which you can get on Amazon. I got a whole container for like $1.99. And you just put them inside of that, light, done. And when the wick goes out, you put another wick. So this is another way to have a continuous working. I would not put paper in that. I would put it underneath, or maybe on the outside if you wanted to write on the outside. Of course, you can put glitter in there as long as it's not metal glitter. It wouldn't blow up anything. And no herb. By the way, no herb that you ever put inside of any kind of a candle should be solid, because they blow up. And also don't put any metal like pennies or even the lodestones into a candle or spell. Underneath, around it, not inside. Okay, so there's that. So those are ideas. If you were going to start to do a ritual, if you wanted to do a full moon ritual or a new moon ritual for fame and fortune, maybe you want to think about using the goddess Fortuna, who's a Roman goddess of fortune. Also, Venus is good to bring fame, fame and fortune and beauty and attention. So also Jupiter, or his counterpart in the Greek pantheon, Zeus, or Ra from the Egyptians, or any sun god you really want. You can ask, any of these gods or goddesses that are full, like they draw to you, they draw power. There are other types of pantheons like the Celtics and the Norse that are more mixed gods. They're not so clear cut, like this is for this and this is for this. So a lot of the times I will go to Roman or Greek and or Egyptian, and yes, I will find that particular god or goddess that rules that. So in this case, I probably would. I like to appeal to the Greeks, so I would use Zeus and probably Aphrodite. So that's what I would use. But it's up to you again. Like everything else I've talked about over all these weeks, all these months, is you use what works for you. And again, as my little diatribe was about, you have to learn things in order to use them. So chanting. Some people will just use song and music and chanting. So they'll sit down every day at a certain time, and maybe you want to use the hour of the astrological hour you want to work with, and you sit down and you chant things like, I don't know, bring me love and acclaim for my work and give me great fame. All right, something. Bring me love and acclaim, give me great fame. People like things to rhyme, and rhyming is always better. So if you can make something that rhymes, you're much better off. And you can also do this with a knot spell, and that's something else I want to get into, and we'll get into deeper. You're just taking a piece of cord and or anything that you can tie. It could be cord, could be rope, could be lace. I've done it with lace or ribbons. You just tie the center, and you say, by knot of 1, the spell's begun. By knot of 2, it's coming true. By knot of 3, I am free. Or whatever it is that you want to say all the way out, so that you have 9 knots. In this case, I would say by knot of 1, the spell's begun. By knot of 2, it's coming true. By knot of 3, watch out for me. Like whatever it is that I'm trying to work on, I would knot into that cord. Not only knot into the cord, I would then use oils on that cord. I would probably use some charms. I would use crystals. You can tie all that stuff into your cord magic. And again, you can roll that up and put it in a mojo bag and wear it. Mojo bags, I said this twice and didn't explain them. What they are bags, little muslin bags, or you can, anything. People use socks. It doesn't matter as long as it works for you. Or you can make your own in colors that represent your desires. And you put inside of the bag exactly what you want to put in any spell. You have your crystals, you'd have your herbs, you'd have your oils, you'd have all this stuff inside of there, and your intention. And you tie it up. You can tie it and wear it in your underwear, or you can wear it in your shoe if it's small, or you can wear it in your pocket, or keep it in your purse or wallet. Another way to go, I was talking about making these herbal coins, which a friend of mine first made that I first saw. And what you're doing is you're taking a bunch of herbs and oils and a little water, and you're going to put them in a mold. And she used to use a pentagram mold that she made. She used to cut them out with a cookie cutter that was pentagrams, and she'd let them dry. And then she'd give them to people, and you'd leave them in your wallet until they disintegrated. Worked nicely. It was a very lovely thing. So that's a way to go. You can also create your own charms and jewelry. You can go into that detail. People do that all the time. Also, you can just make beads. People make different necklaces and wear those. And this is for blankety blank. Say in this case, for fame and fortune, I might buy some. If I wanted to craft it myself, or buy something that has gold and purple beads upon it, or green and purple, which I put on today for this lecture. So these earrings themselves, I could take and say, you know what, I'm going to empower these to bring me fame and fortune, and every time I wear them, I'm going to get attention. Or this particular ring, this ring brings me the fame and fortune. You can actually take this jewelry, leave it on your altar, or leave it with your spells, anoint it with oils, and then that becomes more powerful. You can leave it in a box of crystal or a box of herbs, and then every time you wear it, you're doing that working. So that's another way to go. Food. Easy way to go. My sister had I had opened a store, and for my opening, she brought me jar spells, and the jar spells were cookies, like the cookie mix. All you had to do was add water or something wet like eggs or oil, and it would bring you. She got me on the phone, and we talked for a long time about what spices you might put in. So, for example, for money, you put in cinnamons and allspices and cloves and all these kinds of edible spices that you can make. And it was like she made, I think, like a spice cake mix, and that's what that was. And then we had love, where we put in like chocolates and almonds and all kinds of sugar, and it was red and sweet. And so there was that. And you can make those things and feed them to yourself or to other people. If you're making a honey jar, you can also take the honey that's in the jar and put that in your tea, or put that in your cooking, or put that anywhere. You can also make, if you wanted to make a honey jar out of any kind of syrup, that includes maple syrup, you can just empower that, put your desires in the paper, let it sit in there, and then just, be careful you don't eat the paper, but you can strain that onto your food or to give to other people. We also went to a ritual where somebody gave me a honeyed bourbon, and I said to my husband, we just got spelled to do whatever this person wanted us to do. So she gave us a bourbon that was very honeyfied, and a lot of the food on the table was also full of honey. She was a chef and a witch, and I can be sure she wanted us to spend money in her store, which we did, and we did it with it, whether or not a spell was there, I think. Anyway, so foods. So think about that. All these same spices, of course, not the poisonous spices, and you don't want to necessarily be eating goldenrod or goldenseal, but you could make tea out of some of these as well. You can make a basil mixture with clover. Clover is a really tasty tea. You could add all kinds of things to a tea, or just add spice. Chai spice itself is a money-bringing, money-drawing tea. So maybe you have an interview, or you're going to be filmed, or you're going to be on a stage, or you're going to be something, chai tea. Good way to go. People will be attracted to you because of it. Also, vanilla is a really, really, really powerful one. Vanilla beans and vanilla in general for eating and for using. Clothing. So I'm wearing black today, but if I was trying to be famous, I certainly wouldn't wear black. I would wear gold, and I would wear silver, and I would wear purple, and I would wear bright colors that represent power. So that's something to think about, how you dress, what you wear, or what you smell like. Now you've got your perfume on. By the way, you can also create a powder, a magical powder. I said we could buy them in different stores, but you can make your own, and all you need is cornstarch or rice flour, or both, and a couple of drops of your oil. Shake it up. Got it. We're ready to go. And that can be added to your baths, or hi Eva, thank you for coming. Or you can be added to your own dressing table, your own toiletry. You can also make deodorant. Very easy to do. You take coconut oil, baking soda, mix them together, and add your oil. Now, if you're going to be using that, you want to make sure you don't want to use cinnamon in very sensitive areas. And again, no mucous membranes ever. But you could add other types of oils that might bring fame and fortune. Let me think. Not ginger. That would be bad too. Oh, but maybe like tea tree. Tea tree is for fortune, and tea tree is really good to kill germs. So that would be a great addition, and it smells pretty good. And I do use tea tree in my deodorant a lot. So that's somewhere way to go. Or you could do, let's see. I don't know. All of these are kind of spicy. These are spicy things. So you want to be very careful. Tea tree is the only one I could think of that would be okay, that would burn. So there's that. And it does kill bacteria. So that's another thing, another layer of magic. So we're talking about, you have magic going on in your house. You have your maybe honey jar or your spirit jar. You've done a ritual during the right time of the moon when the moon is waxing. You've got that going on. You've written out your spells. You might have a mojo bag in your pocket, or maybe one of my little tokens saying, for fame and fortune, just some herbs that you carry with you in your wallet or purse or in your shoe. You can put this magic powder in your shoes as well. So everywhere you walk, you're walking into abundance. You're bringing it with you. So there's that. You can wear as I said, perfume in different formats. You can use lotions. You can have taken a bath and or a shower or both with magic soap and baths that are all made for this working. Be careful again. Don't use spicy things if you're going to soak or wash. But again, basil's okay for that. Frankincense and myrrh do really well in soap. I've done it a lot for my money soap, so I know that that works. It smells wonderful, actually. So those things, and you've walked out into the world in these clothes that are the right color, and you're ready to go. You know, really should be able to go. You could make yourself lozenges from these herbs, put that in your mouth as well, so that everything you say and do comes out magically, everything. And then you do your glamoury, and you believe that you are what you want to be, and people start to see that as true. That brings me to my mirror spell for self-love. Well, if you don't really feel good or self-assured, this is all just a bunch of pretty smelling stuff. So you would maybe, some people take candles, pink ones, and this is for love, and they stare at themselves in the mirror, and they do this naked, and they'll say, "You are beautiful, you are wonderful, you are worthy." It's a lovely ritual, and it does help you to like find out what stops you from feeling like that. Because if you have a blockage that comes up when you start saying that to yourself, then that's the very thing you need to work on. I feel I should be famous, I should be rich because, oh no, you shouldn't, you're just dumb. Well, that's the first thing to work on. No, you shouldn't because you're just dumb. That kind of comment or those kinds of feelings need to be banished. And if you're starting to feel like that when you just do a simple self-love ritual, then maybe it's time for you to do a black candle spell first to remove your own blockages before you try to become famous and or rich. Okay, so that's something to consider as a preparatory step. You might want to start that mirror spell at the new moon or the dark of the moon just before the moon starts coming back in again. So that might help for you to see what. Next month, I've said this like 4 times now, so I'm definitely doing banishing and removal spells plus binding. So, because to me, they're almost like the same. Banishing is like really go away. Binding is like, hey, stop doing that. So you can do these spells on yourself, and perhaps you should. If you're not achieving the things you want in life and you want some fame and you do want fortune, then perhaps you need to remove your own blockages. And what is stopping you? Can you banish those things? And you can. There are famous weight loss spells or smoking cessation spells or, breaking up a bad relationship spells or, leaving a bad job. There's lots of ways. Or you can clear before you fill. As we all know, you have a dish in the sink and it's dirty and full of food. You're not going to put new food in there. Pretty simple. You want to clean it before you eat again. So it's the same idea. A lot of these things come from our ancestors who knew all this stuff is a natural part of life. So it's simple thinking that brings about magic. So again, all that works really, really well. But the major thing, you can look through all of these things. You can take bazillions of notes. And you can, thank you, I just read your, yes, please. You could do all this stuff, but what the most important thing is if you don't put your mind to the work, it's not going to work. I don't mean just the magical work, which I was talking about before, but I mean your work. If you don't say, I want to be, I don't know, a famous such and such. Say you want to be a Kardashian. I don't know. Say you do. You want to be famous. You want to be on the red carpet. You want this kind of attention and attraction. If you want that, then you have to put your work into it. You have to be that person. You have to work on that too. This stuff we're talking about is just a little zing addition to your actual work. So if you wanted to be a famous actor, say, you have to be in acting class. You have to be taking care of your body. You have to be taking care of, getting an agent, taking the right pictures. If you want to be a famous lawyer, well, then you better go to law school. You want to be a politician, you have to get working in community service and helping people and start working your way up the line. So you just can't start on the top. You have to work your way up. And you want to see it. And along the way, you want to be able to say, yes, I want this. I want this. But again, like I said at the beginning, why do you want this? How will you feel when you get it? If you can imagine just for a few moments, aside from all this other work we've talked about, what is it that you want and how will you feel when you get it? If you can sit quietly and imagine how it might feel for you to be famous and wealthy and have fortune, how will it feel when you're there? Exactly how will it feel? So you have to fantasize about it, the feeling of it. I have this thing. I am this thing. Right now I am famous. I am fortunate. I am well noticed and rich. I am. How does it feel? And then you have to say to yourself, do I feel like that now? Or can I feel like that now? Can I behave like that now? Even without it in my hands? Can I start acting like it's already here? That's how you get magic to work. You have to set the mood and intention. You have to light your candles. You have to do your work, of course. These are prayers. I always say spells are prayers that you can see and touch and smell and eat. Not always, but not poison. I said it again. But, you know, edible things. All of that can be done on the external. But what's happening internally is what fuels the spell. That's what a spell is. Spells used to mean stuff like you're saying something. You're saying, I want blank. That's a spell right there. That is a spell. I want fame. Spell. Now you fill it out. And whatever you add to it is up to you as far as you want to go. And I think that the more you do, the more the universe and your your external self or your higher self says, geez, you really want that. Look at all the candles you lit. Look at all the work you're doing. Look at all the chanting and meditation and all the money you're spending on your wardrobe and everything else like schooling that you need to get this thing. Well, you really do want this. Here it is. And one day when you least expect it, it's right there. But it's always been. The moment you start a spell, it is so. That's the most important thing to say. The moment you start a spell, it is so. You just get in your own way and stop the spell. But like I said before, I like my spells to grow real slow and wait, and then grow a little more and then wait. I don't want fast action. I've had those kinds of spells, and sometimes you're not prepared for them, and they happen too fast, and inevitably you're not ready for what you're asking for. Taking your time with these things and allowing them to blossom is what makes you ready for them as well. Again, lots of things to think about. I have all of that stuff listed. I could actually put this up. Nah, you don't want to see it. You'll just listen. Take notes and ask me questions. I'm always available on internet. This will be up on Facebook. This will also be up in the SPELLCRAFT group. Not only the Magic Apothecary group, the SPELLCRAFT group, and my other groups that are listed that are connected to it, as well as my YouTube channel and on my website. So it'll be everywhere for you to check out. And if you have any questions, you can always reach me at the Magical, M-A-G-I-C-A-L, the Magical Apothecary at gmail.com. Or you can write to me on Facebook. Again, just to say, I make all these things for people, personalize them for you based on what you exactly need. So if you ever need somebody to prepare things for you, really organic, really real, and really ready for you to use, that I promise works, because I know it does, I'm always available to make things for people and talk you through this on the other side if you don't feel ready to do it on your own. All right, so that's it. This is the end of this lecture. This is SPELLCRAFT for Fame and Fortune, and it was done on January 26, 2018. It's 5 p.m. until 6 p.m. And it was great to be here with all you guys, and it was lovely that you stopped by to see me, and I really appreciate your support. And get in touch if you need anything. My YouTube channel. You want my YouTube channel, Eva? I'll send it to you in 2 seconds off of here. Okay. Bye.